Kulluhum Kordani Waharisun, and welcome to Shift F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. That, by the way, is Arabic for there are only two monkeys and a guard. Which is an expression.
Which one of us is the guard?
What an awesome setup for a Hitman level.
Yeah. That's an expression meaning there are very few people, and at this rate, nobody will be working for the FIA by this time next year. We have so much to talk about. We're not even going to get to the further departures of, let's see, the F2 race director and a steward that the FIA has freshly fired. Instead, we are going to talk about, the many Qatar races and the upcoming race in Abu Dhabi to close out the season. But before we do that, I want to introduce Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing good. Yes, the lady who I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, Jeanette Tan, who was leading the Singapore race, is perhaps going the way of Checo Perez, leaving the sport. Maybe Checo Perez is going the way of her. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to talk about that as well. Further developments in the driver market right at the end of the season.
Indeed. Also joining us, Rob Zachney. How are you, Rob?
I think I'm taken aback by how bad the vibes are in F1 right now, out of nowhere. But like it was a weekend of like the vibes are off, Drew.
It is the longest season in F1 history.
I was just about to say the same thing. I think just after a while, you just get sick of your coworkers.
And they're kicking, finally ending the season on a triple header.
Yeah.
Like just insult to injury here.
Yeah. Different cities, different continents. These boys just want to get their stockings up and wait for Santi to come.
If you are new to this podcast, a very warm welcome to you. And if you are new to Formula One, we recommend listening to our preseason primer episode.
No better time.
We're going to have a new one in a few months. But the primer assumes no prior F1 knowledge and explains how the sport works and who everybody is. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that and get up to speed, it's episode 257. Joke will never get old. Also, the show would not be possible without our audience over at patreon.com/shiftf1, where every month we release ad-free versions of the podcast, along with bonus podcasts and videos that are exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you would like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What do we have going on this month, Danny?
This month, we are doing 2 patron-exclusive podcasts because
right, we owe them.
Yeah, we're kind of behind. We're lagging behind on these, and it worked out perfectly because Rob reminded us today before recording that we have yet to dive into the wonderful world of the Ayrton Senna miniseries on Netflix. Not the movie, Senna, the series. Senna. It's 6 episodes long. It has mixed reviews. Seems
Great.
like the critics aren't so sure, but the fans love it.
The only review that matters is the guy painting my condo this week. He's Brazilian, and he said it's amazing.
Wow, the Brazilian guy said it's
the
amazing.
actor they got to play Senna is so much like Senna.
And I've seen in the trailer, the guy who's Alain Prost is also freakishly Alain Prost.
And he was like, a lot of times Brazilian TV, Brazilian productions, not so good. Kind of cheap, but Netflix, they put real money into this, and so it's really good. I don't need to hear more.
I hope when you're watching like foreign television, and this happens in Brazil with sports stuff especially, when like everything's normal and then they do something weird, like they definitely do for the soccer, the goal goes in and it's go, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. The Brazilian Formula One stuff does that thing where when the driver crosses the line, they like play a jingle, or at least historically, they would like go da 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 as music like goes off. So I'm hoping there's some of that. Yeah, I'm hoping it's like it looks like a Western, highly produced, like real edge of your seat, premiere television. But then there's like some weird like graphics that pop up or like music shit that like just feels really strange to us.
Like Japanese TV, someone in a corner just like appears and goes, what?
100%. Yeah, it's random picture in picture that like to everyone who's watching that in the native country is like, well, of course, that's what we do. You know what I mean? The same way they probably watch things we do and go, why is that happening? Why are there people talking over your sports? Like, what are you doing? What's your vision? So that's what I'm hoping. Probably not, though. But yes, we're going to do Senna. We're going to do all 6 episodes split across 2 episodes of the podcast. So
they're meaty episodes.
Are they? Like 4 hours long?
These are not like 40-minute episodes. Like each one's about an hour.
Okay.
All right.
Buckle up.
There's a lot of... You should buckle up. Although it's not going to make a difference.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Danny. Well, all right. Thanks to our listeners from Brazil.
I'm sorry. He was right there. I'm sorry. It's been 30 years. Look, my book of death that I hold in my hand right now has numbed me. Okay? It has. I'm a broken man. This season has been too long on me. There's been too much from the Chromicon this year. God damn it. I need my wife to get me a new Christmas book so I can read out of that one. The big, beautiful book of Formula One births or something. Oh, until then, though, we're delighted to be doing all of this work thanks to our incredible title sponsors, including a new one signed up.
All right.
Steiner Hugs Hard.
Oh, I'll bet he does.
I'm hoping that's him. I'm hoping that's him sending a message. Maybe this is part of his new PR. You know, he's like, I'm not the mean guy. I'm actually a nice guy. I do, he does hugs. That was drifting from like Italian to German.
He's much like Gunther. Like we were kids.
Good point. Steiner Hugs Hard. It's a me, Ferrario. Get rich or die. Maybe it's a me, Ferrario is Bonato. Maybe they're buddies. They're here together. That's their new vineyard. Get Rich or Die Ryan, Agave ATX, Cyphus Trading, Turf SCS, at Team Blackjack, Michael Maves, Gordy's Army, at Talking Autos, Olivia Evans,
OliviaDeck.com.
telemetrydeck.com, FTC, Drew Stewart, Bailey Foote, Abdullah Al-Thani, Jason Chadwick, Abraham Getchell, The Space Above Us podcast, Bunny Fiend, Snigs, Alex Couchet, Max Voltar, Circuit Demon, Troy Stammer, William Rumpf, Irvine Clinical Research, Lachlan the Maddened Man, Samurai Love Story, and Jason Kelly. Thank you all so much for continuing to sponsor us into the final race of the season.
Yes, but before we get there, we have to go through 2 more races. If you count the sprint as a race, which I don't know that I do.
This one I wouldn't.
Yeah, so we'll maybe go quickly through this one. The sprint grid, Lando Norris on sprint pole, followed by George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc in 5th, then Max Verstappen in 6th place, Lewis Hamilton 7th, Pierre Gasly 8th, Nico Hülkenberg 9th, and Liam Lawson 10th. Behind them, Alonso, Albon, Bottas, Stroll, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Ocon, Zhou, Perez, and Colapinto. The last 2 required to start from the pit lane after making setup changes whilst under parc ferme conditions. Danny, you want to take us through the start of the sprint?
Yeah, let me tell you about the 2 best overtakes that happened in this race. Both of them happened on the first lap. One of them happened in the pit lane. So Norris gets away decent. Russell doesn't have a fantastic start, and Piastri tries. He's sort of like, I'm going to go around the outside and turn 1. Psych, I'm not really going to do that. Russell tries to defend up the inside, and then Piastri basically hangs it out there, stays with him. So on the entrance to turn 2, he gets the position. Spoilers, top 3 doesn't change much from there for the next 19 laps. But in the pits, Sergio Perez forgets his... what's it called? Blue cross code? I forget what it's called. Green cross code? Now I forget it. In the UK, it's how you do red
really
light,
European
green light.
thing you're doing?
I guess, yeah, it is. Of course, it's a European thing. Yeah. The light goes green in the pit lane and he doesn't move. Not quite sure what was happening. It kind of looked like he was looking at his windows and maybe trying to shift. I'm not sure. But Colapinto goes, okay, and just overtakes him in the pits. Which Perez had a terrible qualifying. He ended up starting from the pit lane because they just decided to run. They changed it. Was it they changed his rear wing and then so they could run basically this race as a practice session? Was the what was going on there, or maybe it was?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
His perform later. But yeah, just a terrible weekend for Perez and getting overtaken in the pit lane when you're fighting for. Last time he was fighting for his career, he pulled out an amazing last couple of races. Less so at the moment.
Yeah. Also not a great start for the other Red Bull. Verstappen loses places to Hamilton, Gasly, and Hülkenberg, and according to Alex Jakes, that's the first time he's lost a position in any race all year.
What? Wow. Like, not including a pit stop, I guess.
That's what he said.
Wait, first time he's
trust
lost a
Alex
position
Jakes.
on the first lap, you mean?
I don't know.
Has he never been
That's
over-
what he said. I don't know that he qualified it with first lap, but
Surely he was been overtaken this year
I don't know.
by people.
I don't know. The
like-
fact that I don't know is illustrative.
I feel like I'm living in Cloud Cuckoo land.
Take it up with Alex Jakes. So Hamilton moves up 2 places in just a few corners into 5th place. Maybe one of the only times that he looks good this weekend. Verstappen eventually pulls ahead of Gasly for 8th place on lap 8. We've only got, 19 laps here. Leclerc, running in 6th place, closes up to Hamilton on the front straight and sweeps to the inside. The two of them then go side by side through turn 1, then turn 2, which switches sides again so that Leclerc has the inside for turn 3, which he eventually pulls ahead and gets 5th place. Great little battle. I think it bodes well for next year when these two are teammates, provided Hamilton can turn that frown upside down, which we'll get to. Lap 14, Russell gets a run with DRS on Piastri, moves to the inside of turn 1, but Piastri blocks him, prompting complaints from Russell. Similar move happened earlier in the race, Piastri towing that line quite well. Norris was doing his best to give Piastri DRS during the sprint to help keep him away from Russell. In the end, though, it was barely enough. And as on the final lap, Norris's engineer is telling him, like, all right, good job. We're happy with this position. Don't change, whatever you do, don't change positions. Norris changes positions. Around the final corner, slows just enough to hand Piastri the win as a thank you for his help in the championship in Brazil. And it was close. I know why his team was saying that, because Russell was right behind him. If he didn't execute this well, Russell could have had 2nd place. But
I was there was a lot of in NFL this weekend, there was a lot of sporting mishaps that happened on final plays. It was sort of a ridiculous weekend for that. So when this was happening, earlier in the week so when this was happening, I was like, oh no, this is all I've been programmed that the silly thing happens at the end of the sports thing. And it was pretty tight. Like, Russell was right up his gearbox, but he managed to make it happen. It was a very nice gesture by Lando. And then immediately afterwards, when they interview him, he was like, I don't care about sprint races. I'm not here to win sprint races. I'm here to win championships, which I was like, he did the nice thing. Maybe don't say that right away.
Already dovetailing with the, like, I'd almost if I gave up a spot for a race win and you're like, hey buddy, here's a sprint race. Yeah. It's actually worse than you doing nothing. Like, in my view, it's actually worse to be like, it's for people, because it gets people being like, what sportsmanship? What teamwork? No problems here. And it's like George Russell standing atop the tire barrier, gesticulating wildly as he aids Zhou after sending him into that wall. It's like you didn't really do anything, right? It's extremely tuxedo mask code.
It is, yeah. God, I forgot about that.
Well, the result of the sprint looks thusly: Oscar Piastri wins, Lando Norris 2nd, George Russell 3rd, and we've got Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in 4th and 5th, then Lewis Hamilton, Nico Hülkenberg, and Max Verstappen, the last of the points-paying positions. Behind them, Gasly, Magnussen, Alonso, Bottas, Stroll, Ocon, Albon, Lawson, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Zhou, and Perez. Now to the race grid. The fastest in qualifying, Max Verstappen. Pole position? No. Verstappen was penalized 1 position for driving unnecessarily slowly during qualifying. He got in Russell's way. Like, it was, like basically a blocking call. But Russell, Jolyn Palmer is keen to point out in a good YouTube video, which I'll link in the show notes, which goes into a couple of the penalties of the weekend. Notes that Russell was not on a push lap during qualifying. So this is probably why it was only a 1-position dock instead of 3 positions, but still a little weird.
It might have been a 0 positions if Mercedes hadn't have brought it up.
Right. So apparently in the driver meeting with the race director, which happens before every race, Russell brought this up and apparently gave a pretty impassioned plea for Verstappen to get a penalty. And Max Verstappen issued some choice quotes in the media.
Oh.
Afterwards, he says, after seeing Russell fighting so hard for it during that driver meeting, quote, "I lost all respect."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, also said, I think he said, I've been in a lot of these meetings. I've never seen a driver work so hard to screw someone else.
Yeah.
As Russell did. Which, here's my view. Red Bull are pretend prefects. George Russell's the real deal. Okay? You want to see tattling? You want to see tattling with the headmaster? Here it is. Do not, if you're gonna take a shot at the head boy, you best protect your neck.
Look, it's not like Verstappen doesn't immediately do the exact same thing in the race.
Yeah, this is the game. This is
Somebody
the
else.
sport. Like, I don't know why anyone is surprised at any of this.
Yeah, this is he's complaining, and then he's out there pardoning his son on the racetrack 2 minutes later.
And also, Horner's out there being like, yeah, it wouldn't have happened except like, George got a bit hysterical out there. And it's like, hey, Christian, how about you don't use that fucking word for the next year?
Yeah.
You in particular don't get to use it.
Yeah. That would have been Max Verstappen's first race pole since Austria.
Wow.
Yeah. In third place, starting in third, Lando Norris, then Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc in fifth. Sixth place, Lewis Hamilton, followed by Sainz, Alonso, Perez in ninth, and then Kevin Magnussen in 10th. Behind them, starting, we have Gasly, Zhou, Bottas, Tsunoda, Stroll in 15th, Albon, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, and Ocon starting from the back. Danny, do you want to take us through the start?
Yes, I'd love to. George Russell, happy in his pole position. Oh, sorry, not pole position. He's in first. Didn't get pole, but he's in first position. But not for very long. Almost immediately, Max Verstappen, great start. We know he usually has great starts. Didn't, obviously, in the sprint, as it turns out. But he gets up right up beside Russell and lets him know he's there and doesn't push him out, but forces George to stay on the outside of that turn so much that Lando also gets a decent toe off of Norris and then also manages to overtake him. So by the time they've rounded the first turn, Russell is in third position. Leclerc also gets past Piastri at this stage, and a couple of other drivers have a bad start. I think Hamilton lost 2 places early on. And then in the back of the field, we have a crash, which is a sort of an unfortunate... we'll talk about Ocon a little bit later. Nico Hulkenberg basically sort of... I don't know. He couldn't turn it in fast enough and
he
came
lost
across
the
the track. Yeah. He tags Ocon is the meat in the sandwich. Colapinto's on the outside, and they both get tagged and are out of the race pretty much right away. Unfortunately, so yeah, and that will end up being Ocon's final race for them.
That's true, which we'll get to in the news. At the same time, at turn 5, Stroll hits the back of Albon, causing them both to spin, earning Stroll a 10-second penalty. And yeah, I got really excited at the start because Norris, with Verstappen opening up that hole there, Norris shoots through and challenges Max for the lead and is already ahead by the end of that long right-hander. But luckily for Verstappen, the next corner is to the left, so Verstappen has the inside and retakes first place. But it was a good charge. Elsewhere in the field, as you said, Hamilton didn't have a great start. And then gets penalized for a false start.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he is moving as the lights go out. So the beginning of a rough night for Hamilton.
Yeah, he can't wait to get out of that car, I think.
Yeah.
Not a great honeymoon or end of an era there, and I don't think he's gonna have much. He's gonna be happy to go, I think, at this stage.
It was a challenging weekend, just because, unlike last year, very cold at the circuit.
Yes.
This year. And they're using really
Same as
hard
Vegas.
compounds. So they were using, I think, the C1, I think, might have been their hard compound this week. So they're the extreme end of the tire compound spectrum. And those seemed to be really hard to warm up and get to perform, which seemed like there were a lot of people reading intent into pretty consistent understeering that was happening throughout the weekend. The Stroll one jumped out at me. Albon gets on the horn after he's hit, and he's like, I knew he was going to do it. I knew Stroll was just going to come over and hit me. And you go to Stroll cam, and I'm like, I'm here for let's watch this trust fund dipshit screw up again. And it's pretty routine. Like, he has the car understeers a bit. It starts to maybe wobble a bit. As he goes over the rumble strip, he has to straighten the wheel slightly before re-engaging on the turn. Routine stuff. He just cuts a bit wide. Run the tape. Albon has plenty of room to the outside. He doesn't have to be cutting it that close. But what's weird is Zhou, right behind them, is like, man, that Aston, what the fuck, guys? And it was like everyone was just done. I don't know if it's just with Stroll, but increasingly as the weekend went on, it was like everyone's just done with all of this. It was part of the strange vibes. Is like, it hasn't been the best year for Stroll by any stretch of imagination. But it was like a really routine, small, he understeered when the car was full of fuel and the tires are cold. Nobody can turn these cars. And everyone was like, let's just beat the crap out of this guy. No one likes you. It was a weird vibe. And I was like, I kind of feel bad for Stroll.
I wonder if Albon, worried about his teammate, spun around, noticed that Colapinto had already crashed and was like, oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Well, before the weird vibes continue, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the restart. All right. We got some kind of safety car, virtual or real. I can't even remember. There's so many in this race. But on lap 4, we restart. Piastri gets a run on Leclerc, gets around the outside into turn 1. And in the backfield, Lawson understeers into Bottas at turn 1, spinning both of them off the track and earning Lawson a 10-second penalty.
Did he do this No, someone else did this to him at Interlagos. It was... Somebody else did. I forget.
10 years ago.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, okay. For some reason, I thought that was another. Because Lawson's performance is coming back into frame now because of what's happening with Checo, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see here. Lap 10, great move on Magnussen, or from Magnussen on Tsunoda. Yeah. Magnussen goes around the outside of turn 1, and Tsunoda puts up a stout defense. Magnussen dipping half his car into the gravel, but keeps the speed up to grab the inside of turn 2 and take 9th place. I'm really going to miss Magnussen. I feel like him.
We know, Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was this incident was also noted? I don't think anything came of it, but for some reason it was. I think it was for Tsunoda maybe forcing him out because he did kick up a bunch of sand on the outside of that first turn. But yeah, I don't think anything. It's not that
it's Magnussen will get into it later at the same spot with Albon. Lap 13, Tsunoda gets passed again, this time by a very racy Pierre Gasly with DRS down the main straight, getting around the outside at turn 1 for 10th place. And a lap later, he's followed by Alonso past Tsunoda.
Yeah.
Lap 24, Russell pits from 3rd, but it is a slow stop. Problem on the rear right puts him out in 11th place behind the battle pack of Magnussen, Gasly, and Alonso. And then lap 30, with so many crashes, the Williams cars are basically held together by duct tape at this point. And as Albon is heading down the front straight, his right wing mirror just snaps off.
Just flies off.
Yep.
Too fast.
And it lands just off the racing line, kind of smack dab in the middle of the start-finish straight.
Yeah.
So
Bit of a
this,
worry.
yeah, which was noted by the commentators at the time. It brings out a yellow flag, briefly a double waved yellow, which means that both of those yellows mean that the drivers are required to slow down. Verstappen, who is leading ahead of Norris, does slow down and then immediately radios for his team to check whether Norris slowed down. And this is either, it's one of two things. Either it is another one of those fun examples to show that racing drivers are on another level as humans. This is like, that kind of extrasensory perception that shows to me why these guys are the best at what they do. Like Alonso does stuff like this. Hamilton, Vettel was famous for it. Just having this amazing awareness for the race as a whole, outside of your own cockpit, really impressive. Although Palmer points out again in that YouTube video that I'm going to link, Verstappen could also have been reacting to the fact that seeing the double waved yellow flags was difficult to see. It is a night race. And he expected maybe that Norris did not see it. But anyway, he does radio to his team. And again, this is how these people often say, like, well, drivers are complaining all the time. A lot of the time, the stewards or the race director doesn't know to refer things to the stewards unless they are notified about it, because they can't see everything. So the drivers do, quote unquote, complain because they want to flag something as maybe the steward should look at this. So he does, and as it turns out, Norris did not lift. He said afterward that he did not see the flags. I think by the time that other cars come through there, they have either been told by their teams to await the double waved yellows, or the double waved yellows had been taken back in. So Norris is...
Yeah, worth mentioning also that it's not just flags. There's the big LED panels, and I also think maybe they get a readout on their steering wheels for that as well. It's in a weird spot. It's on a straight.
Yeah, he at the time did not get anything on his steering wheel, because I think that comes from the team. And the LED panel, it's only one of them.
Yes,
that would have shown it, because the next panel, which was showing green, is after the debris. And so that's...
Yeah.
So the only one he would have shown clicked on when he was like practically right next to it. So he wouldn't have seen that. But the flags were further. You should check out the Palmer thing. It's good.
Yeah.
So he is handed a 10-second stop-go penalty, which is the harshest penalty one can get aside from a disqualification.
Yeah. Are we gonna run Verstappen through the mill on this one or not?
I don't think Max did anything wrong. I do want to see the DraftKings account for who was stewarding this weekend. I just have questions.
It was a weird. Well, it was also a weird. I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, they'll do it when they're going to clear the debris, but no one's clearing the debris on a start finish.
Well, hang on.
That does not happen.
Let's put a pin in that. Okay, because they're like, you couldn't send someone out of the course in these conditions. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could have run out and gotten that by now. Like, there were some clear gaps. It's just that race directors don't send people onto a live course anymore. Period.
Yeah, and especially on long straights, because you're basically asking the human to know how fast those cars are, and their brains are wired for a different. You know what I mean? If it's anywhere else on the track,
a little ways
you hear
away.
it coming. Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And that's the worry, I think, is that I have never seen them do it in the modern era on a straight. But yeah, so to me, I'm like, then why are you throwing a yellow? Like, does the relative speed have to do with this?
Yeah, this is the contradiction here, because if you're gonna throw a double waved yellow, that means that it's a big deal. And if it's a big deal, why aren't you throwing a safety car? So they didn't throw a safety car, they say, because this is the FIA in this quote from Motorsport. Normal practice is for the safety car not to be deployed if there is a small amount of debris and off the racing line. A VSC, virtual safety car, would not have been a solution, as the cars remain spread out and there is not sufficient time for a marshal to clear the debris. And again, as Palmer points out, yes, it is off the racing line, but it's also where a lot of cars go. because this is at the end of, or near the end of a straight.
Right. Yeah.
And so sure enough, lap 34, or I think it's a little before that, the lucky driver is Valtteri Bottas, who I'm not sure, may have been moving aside because of a blue flag, but like this is also where passing would happen. Hits it and it shatters into a million shards of carbon fiber.
I have rarely
problem
seen
solved.
something with as much intent is Valtteri. 'Cause you have to remember, it felt like they were just waving yellows for eons. Just like, well, there's a yellow on the straight, just stay to the left side. I got to believe every driver knew why that yellow was out. And then Valtteri, yes, he is being lapped, and he is moving off the racing line. That car almost squares up.
I mean,
Doesn't hit it with the wheels. He hits it like pretty much, not quite the nose, but like damn close.
yeah.
It really did feel like, oh, fuck this. Like one way or another, it's either gonna be a safety car or I'm clearing the debris myself. To me, I just looked at it and I was like, that is not mischance. And
We'll have to go back and see whether this was advantageous to Zhou and or Bottas.
I mean, the risk would be so high that he'd, scoop up and hit him in the face. I guess they have the halo, but like, or damage his own car. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but his race is already screwed because of the spin. Like in large, like he did claw his way back, but he's in kind of a tricky position. But he did drop a banana for some cars behind him.
he did. You're right. That was
Crashgate Mini.
Yeah.
So yeah, lap 34, not one but two cars, Hamilton and Sainz, suddenly earned punctures after driving through there. Weird. Safety car deployed. Now we get a safety car.
Was this the point at which Hamilton was like, "Can I retire?"
So
No, this is in
Almost.
his "what am I doing" phase, not a yearn for death phase. Yearn for death came later.
Yes.
This is the where am I? What am I doing here?
right. So the safety car comes through the pit lane to avoid the stuff on the main straight.
I forgot about this.
And as that is happening, from Norris's perspective, Hamilton's speed is a little erratic. Norris has to lock up to avoid hitting him as they enter the pit lane. But then he speeds back up, and sure enough, a few laps later, Hamilton is handed a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And this is where
Speeding in the pit lane under safety car, which I feel like that is like a
come
bingo
on.
card that somebody is like, finally, somebody did it.
Good point. He is told this over the radio, to which he says, "Just retire the car then." His engineer Bono says negative. And then Hamilton says, I'm just switching off the car when I get there, man.
We gotta serve the penalty, bro. We gotta
Yeah.
serve the penalty.
Yeah. Bono says, that's fine if you want a 5-second penalty next race. We only have to do one more lap, but we will drive through the pit lane. Hamilton does end up staying in the race, but man, he, for as positive as he is a lot, he can also be really dour.
His brand is almost entirely never give up. You know what I mean?
Right.
This.
His brand is that his conduct never has been.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's always been this emotional roller coaster. Petulance is it's a different vibe than Max for sure, but Lewis gets peevish. And the more things go wrong, the more peevish he gets. And so at the end of a season like this, he's just fully in the well, this just sucks mode.
Right.
And it's not, we are seeing things when you're in that mode, mindset breeds outcome, which breeds more mindset. And that sort of seems to be the death spiral that Lewis is in. It just seems very, I think from his perspective, the last 3 years of his career have been kind of wasted. The car's finally getting good. He's on his way out. But yeah, he's over it, man.
Yeah. All right, so we get going again on lap 39, and things are again weird. So number one, before the restart even happens, Sergio Perez has a spin and loses drive on his car, so he's out, just completely untouched.
Yeah.
And number two, the safety car lights don't go out. So usually, when the safety car is going to come in on this lap, and therefore the cars would be free to go, the lights, like the flashing like police car lights on the safety car, extinguish, and then it goes into the pits. That did not happen this time. And so Verstappen gets on the radio going like, what? It's not, I don't know what's happening. And so he doesn't get his usual launch, because usually lights go out, he starts backing it up,
right,
and then he can control everything. When there's ambiguity there, I think it goes around the corner and then lights turn off, and then immediately it goes into the pit. So it's weird. He doesn't get the launch he wants. Norris leaps at the opportunity and pulls around the outside of Verstappen as they head into turn 1. Verstappen then goes deep to run Norris wide. He then keeps the corner. And a few cars behind, Gasly in 5th locks up big time and just shoots through the corner, somehow missing George Russell, and rejoins in 7th ahead of Alonso. He then, Gasly does, keeps his head and gets around Sainz a few corners later, back into 6th place. Hülkenberg also spins by himself and off into the gravel, bringing out another safety car. I can't keep track at this point. I think
they just want to go
3
home.
Total.
They're just tired, man. It's been a long season. This is just
So lap 46 is where Norris serves his penalty, and this drops him from 2nd to 15th and last with 11 laps to go.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
I think because everyone's just sick of talking about these types of incidents. Jensen was on the commentary being like, I love how clean they kept it through turn 1. It was the same shit from Max and Norris that we've seen a million times this year, which is that, well, they didn't come together. Yeah, that's because Norris backed out and Verstappen went from one edge of the racetrack to the other.
Yeah.
Not really at a corner he was behind at the start of. And then just didn't leave racing room on the outside to either hold his position or get the pass done.
Yeah,
we're just tired of having the conversation that we just moved on from it.
Yeah,
but it's the same shit.
Totally.
And I wish they told Norris he had the 10-second penalty before all this happened, because I am so curious what his risk calculation would have been as Max took that line had he known that he was sitting on a 10-second penalty. Because McLaren just wanted to close it out. They just wanted to seal the championship this week. Norris was racing to seal that Constructors' Championship. Yeah. No risk, just maintain position, get the cars home. That plane gets blown out of the water by the penalty. But this was the same sort of side-by-side racing we've seen from Max a million other places. And it's this time we all decided, it's cool, because in the end it didn't matter. But I don't know, it still feels like we have not done an effective job of enforcing racing standards here.
Yeah, totally. It's the same. Yeah, exactly. The only reason no one thought of it at the time was because, McLaren need those points, and Norris is more than happy to give him that position and keep going.
Lap 48 and 49 as we're winding down here. More Magnussen action this time with Albon, as we said. Magnussen trying once, making contact, then twice at turn 1 to go around the outside of Albon, finally getting it done on the second try. Bottas later gets
something into the radio as he flew past too.
Yeah, he did.
Like F off or something.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck out of here, something like that.
Yeah.
It was great, man. K-Mag, esports is calling you, buddy.
All right. I have it here.
Hey, the Gran Turismo World Tour awaits.
I just have it here. He actually just says F off. That's what he says.
Yeah.
The actual word.
I'm going to miss him so much.
Bottas later gets by Albon and up into the points briefly, joining his teammate Zhou, who is running in 8th, and implores his engineer not to talk to him because he's focused. But unfortunately for Bottas, Norris is still back there. And on lap 53, he gets by Albon by Bottas. Yes, he gets by Albon into 11th, and then a lap later gets Bottas into 10th. And that, folks, is how we end it. Max Verstappen wins the race, followed by Charles Leclerc, and in the official standings, Oscar Piastri, because George Russell received a 5-second time penalty for falling more than 10 car lengths behind the safety car.
Man,
so he'll finish 4th.
We all just forgot it to be Formula 1 drivers this weekend.
Yeah.
Burnout.
Pierre Gasly. Oh, wait a second. Did he I think he may have been fourth on track. I think he may have been fourth
No,
on track.
Piastri was third, yeah.
Yeah, Piastri third, George Russell fourth. Pierre Gasly,
I
fifth
know.
place.
A wrinkle. Haas got it back last week after that crazy leap from Alpine, and here's Pierre Gasly going, no,
Yeah.
no, we're going to keep that position. It's a real battle between them now. Alpine have jumped them again in the constructors.
Yeah. So let's just flip ahead here. Yes, Alpine has 59, Haas has 54.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to
Boy,
it.
high stakes for doing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. That.
Let's see. Pierre Gasly fifth, Carlos Sainz sixth, Fernando Alonso seventh, Zhou Guanyu eighth place. That is 4 championship points, everyone.
The first
Driver
one
of the day as well.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Kevin Magnussen brought home 2 points in ninth place, and then Lando Norris with 1 point and an additional
And-
point for setting the fastest lap of the race,
which
down
was
there in 10th.
Very much for the constructors. Let's just make the best out of this bad situation. Bottas is in 11th. As you said, Crashgate, though, without taking out those guys, the carbon
That's right.
fiber assassin getting Joe in the points.
Yeah, because behind him, Lewis Hamilton in 12th, and Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Alex Albon, and then the DNFs of Hülkenberg, Perez, Stroll, Colapinto, and Ocon.
I love that 2 of those people they just spun. Hulkenberg and Perez are out for a spin.
Yep.
What happened to Stroll again?
Was that his
We had
crunched into Albon? I think he...
Oh, when that happened? He didn't get bullied off the track. He didn't go home. He didn't pick up his ball and walk home because they're all being mean to him.
Oh, man. Kid.
So let's run down the driver standings now after this race and the constructors. Max Verstappen is on top, of course. He's sealed the deal, but he's got 429 points. Lando Norris is in second with 349. Oh my gosh. Charles Leclerc is in third with 341.
Wait, no. What? Really? They're that
Yes.
close? Man, just Verstappen is going to make this in the history books. No one is going to think this was a close season at all. What's the delta between him and Lando?
429 to 349.
Jeez, 80 points. Right?
Yeah, and then 8 points separate Norris from Leclerc.
Dude.
That could happen.
I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know that was on the table. Huh.
Oscar Piastri's in fourth with 291. Sainz is in fifth with 272. George Russell in sixth with 235. Lewis Hamilton in seventh with 211. Sergio Perez in eighth with 152. Fernando Alonso's in ninth with 68, and Nico Hülkenberg in 10th with 37. Gasly has 36. Tsunoda has 30. Stroll has 24. Ocon 23. Magnussen 16. Albon and Ricciardo with 12. Behrman with 7. Colapinto has 5. Zhou and Lawson both have 4. And then Bottas is down there with good old Logan Sargent with 0. But there are no longer any zeros on the constructor standings. McLaren is currently on top with 640 to Ferrari's 619, a gap of 21. So
It's tricky. It's hard. It'd be hard for.
it's tricky.
Let's say this: there's no way they're winning the constructors championships and not also getting second in the drivers' championships. You would need to do some crazy. You'd need to have a lot of people not finishing and Sainz winning the race for that to happen.
It's so possible. Red Bull Racing is in third with 581 points. That looks pretty solid there. Mercedes is in fourth with 446. And then a big jump down to Aston Martin in fifth with 92 points. Alpine, as mentioned, in sixth place currently with 59. Gene Haas and team right behind with 54. And RB down there in eighth with 46 lurking in the background. So something very crazy would have to go their way to jump them, but weirder things have happened. Williams is in ninth, and Kick Sauber Ferrari is on the board with 4 points.
Congratulations.
Oh, man. Let's gamble some skins in celebration. Hey, real quick, this is a news story. It was such a neat thing that it slipped my mind because it only came up during the sprint qualifying. Did you catch this thing where Russell was down on power on the straight because he took a corner flat that his throttle map expected him to have to lift for. And so his throttle map thought he hadn't gone through the corner.
No.
And so when he went flat on the floor, it gave him the power you'd get through the corner, but not on the straight. And I didn't realize throttle mapping worked that way.
No.
I straight up did not realize. Remember a few years ago there was a scandal that there was some suggestion that I can't remember which team was like sending like GPS like telemetry to the throttle map to like assist drivers like with the throttle would sort of be their input would be sort of adjudicated electronically by information about like exactly where on the course the car was, which is illegal. It's against the driver has to drive unassisted. I didn't realize that you could just program the throttle map to, based on various inputs, know where on the course you are. And then you're still adjudicating. They're driving with throttle assist, man.
Yeah, that's wild. But through like dead reckoning, not from any telemetry.
Which you got to think that it's got to adjust, right? Maybe more precise for quali laps, but I imagine it's doing it through the race, which means like it can't just be, which is how this thing got fooled. It was looking for a cue, which is that he would lift going off their corner, but he's able to take it flat. So it couldn't figure out exactly where he was, and it kept waiting for a corner. So like it's not just timing, and it's not just like steering input. There's like it has to be like a combination of things it's looking for to tell it like where you're at on the track. But Russell was able to sort of fool it by taking corner faster than expected, and then he got punished because now it was like, I can't give you full power because you're coming up to that corner. Which that was like a really interesting thing. Not how I understood how F1 like accelerators worked.
That's wild. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's awesome.
Bananas.
Should we jump into the news here before we get to Abu Dhabi?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to take this first one here in the driver market, and maybe let me just do a little edit here. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Now we're talking about two drivers back to back.
Nice.
Esteban Ocon is done.
He's done.
He is no longer an Alpine racing driver. He will not be racing for Alpine this weekend in the final race. Au revoir. He joined back when it was Renault, and he left under the Alpine sign. They have released him from his contract ahead of schedule, which means he'll be able to work with his new team, Haas, early. Yeah. He's going to drive for them in the post-season test at Yas Marina. Instead, their next year's driver, Alpine's next year driver, Jack Doohan, is
Get busy
taking his
doing.
place. Yep.
There's a free fantasy F1 team for you.
What are you doing?
Get busy living or get busy doing.
He is going to make his debut for Alpine one race early. So welcome, everyone.
That sounds like a good idea.
Jack Doohan.
Throw him
weird,
in there.
right?
It is weird. It is
It's
weird.
especially weird because you're a close battle in the championship.
Yeah. Maybe they weren't expecting it. Maybe they weren't expecting Gasly to get... I mean, nobody was expecting it 3 weeks ago.
People are just done. There's all those things where it's like, you have like the 40-hour week and all those things where you like manage like load over like short periods of time, like the max you can do over a short period. But then there's like longer time cycles for this stuff, and F1's just sort of pushed it. They're like, no, you can race for more than half the weekends of the year. Who gives a shit? It's gonna be great. They'll love it.
All the contract people, they want everything done by Yas Marina so they can go on holidays immediately. They want doing.
And you're having stuff happen where teams with like millions of dollars to play for in the Constructors' Championship are just their French. So it's like, I'm sick of looking into your face. And it's just over. It's just over. Like, just get him out. It's bizarre. You got Lewis being like, what if I just walked away right now?
Yeah. Just take the keys. Yeah.
It's bizarre.
What if I do what Senna did? I'll just park close to I should have an apartment here. I could just park and jump over the fence. Or a boat. I could be Kenny right now,
Yeah, Yas Marina. It's a marina.
Exactly. You're right. Good point. There is a marina.
All right, other driver news, Danny.
Yes, Checo Perez. So this is one of those, look, man, by the time we post this podcast, who knows what's going to happen. But basically, every ESPN has the line out of ESPN is Sergio Perez set to leave Red Bull at the end of the season. They are getting that from multiple sources. Everyone is re-reporting this. It sounds like Red Bull are going to... so this is a bit tricky. So he got his contract extension till 2025, so they can't
through
sack
2025.
him. Yeah, so they can't sack him outright, but what they can do is basically give him the Daniel Ricciardo role of shuffling him into a ambassador position within the team. It sounds like that's going to happen. Obviously, this has been the story that we have talked over about over the whole year, especially during the summertime. I was going crazy that they hadn't released him in Red Bull's favor. There was, I guess, they are maybe the worst team to try and take on new drivers in the sport, so they have to be particularly sensitive to who they bring on. It sounds like Colapinto was one that they were interested in before he binned cars in both Interlagos and Las Vegas. Which, he wasn't the only person who did, but I don't think it looks great when a rookie immediately crashes a bunch of cars. We all remember Mick Schumacher having a hard time with that. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen, whether Lawson gets dragged up.
Yuki.
I mean, love to say. Yuki's had a soft end to the season as well. I think maybe if he had a better run in more recent races.
I think he's getting in the car in this postseason practice session.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he get one already? Didn't he get a run a couple of months, like 6 weeks ago? No, it was during the break, wasn't it?
Who cares about live race time? Here's a quote from Yuki. I think so far, from what I experienced in the simulator, it's a car that will suit me. I think that car suits me well. So, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think we need to say more, folks.
Yeah.
Yuki.
Finally.
Yuki's like, hey, that Red Bull felt good in the sim.
Suits me.
Bam.
That was the problem Ricciardo had forever, right? This is the only car that suited him was the Red Bull. All the other cars didn't suit him. So I don't know. This will change probably. I don't know. This time next week we'll probably have much better idea of exactly how this particular driver shuffle ends up.
The real question is, it isn't who's going to be driving the second Red Bull next year. It's which three drivers are going to be driving the second Red Bull next year.
Another option for him is with the Cadillac stuff. Mexican driver, American team, could be a. I don't know.
Pato Award. Welcome.
Okay.
To,
good point.
Cadillac.
Okay. Good point.
There we go.
What are we doing here? No, I'm sorry. Like, it's just that's not. The concern. The thing about Checo right now is like we're talking about those mindset issues. It's just there's a death spiral happening, and it kind of does remind me of Daniel a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think it's tough to imagine being this good at anything, right? Like how fine the margins are between being completely washed in F1 and being on form. I remember like some of these races Daniel would finish and be like, it didn't feel bad, right? He was like, it felt like I was going as fast as I could,
right?
But he just couldn't go fast anymore.
Yeah.
And the margins are infinitesimal, and you can't sometimes feel them. It's just one day kind of gone. And
Perez
that
is
accumulates over a race.
He's 277 points behind Max.
Yeah.
Oof. It's yeah. And it's only gotten worse. Like the bell curve has continued. It's gone below the horizon line at this stage.
And Red Bull has given him, for Red Bull, a lot of time.
I think it shows you how much they have expected of him, though. In a way, I think it's almost sort of more humiliating that if they thought that he was a driver who could get the points, they'd probably be more on top of him. But it's cost them dearly this year. It's cost them a lot. The constructors, they're completely
millions of dollars.
Yeah. And reputationally, I think it's a bad look for them.
I need to go back. I really want to look at, because I haven't looked at the actual numbers behind how Gasly and Albon did in that car when they had their shots. Because Albon, I do remember, was fighting for podiums. Like, yes, Hamilton took him out every time he was on a good one. But in my memory, he drove fearlessly and he had pace. And rather than wait for that shit to get ironed out, they were just like,
no,
let's chuck him. And I do wonder if it was just like the options they had up front the guys who they felt were like primed to advance in the driver program, maybe those were the options. And everything since then has been you didn't trust your own system.
Yeah.
And oh man, and does that kick it back to a Christian helmet type situation where Christian's like, you keep giving me shit, and you got Helmut and Franz being like, these are great drivers, like give it a minute. I don't know, but I look back on it and it's like there's been a lot of chaos here ever since you decided to axe the two guys you'd spent years developing.
Well, Motorsport.com has an article from July of this year. How do Perez's struggles compare to Verstappen's other F1 teammates? So I will put that as a link in the show notes.
Some homework for you, listener.
That's right. All right. Well, we seek confirmation of that after Abu Dhabi, I suppose. Finally here, Rob, what's going on with Audi?
Boy, that's a great question. So I guess you'd say the good news is that Audi, good news for the Audi program, I suppose, it sold a big stake in their F1 team to the Qatar Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Oh.
Woo! Finally.
Nice.
A chance for Gulf State money to get a fair shake in F1.
Time. Yeah.
The actual stake they purchased? Hard to say.
Steak? They bought steak?
Yeah, that too.
Wow.
No, the actual share, Autosport estimates it might be as high as 30, but there's just some weird language about like how is this going to affect naming rights and title sponsorship, which are just kind of weird questions to have come up at this stage. Like it's still the Audi team, right? And Audi's very clear, like, well, yeah, it is, but they're gonna have a say in it as well. So that is the exact quote. We are right now having a broad view on that, meaning naming rights. No decisions taken so far. It will be definitely Audi as the title sponsor of the team, and however the constellation is, the future will show. Just kind of weird things about like how much does the team's identity shift because of this change. What is driving all this is that, as we've discussed, I think the last time we talked about when Binotto came in, there was kind of some question as to whether VW Group, which owns Audi, had the same appetite for F1 that they did when initially inked this deal. And that has been amplified. There was some upheaval at the top. Some of the believers in the F1 initiative got reshuffled. The internal corporate prevailing winds shifted a little bit against the project, and the official line has always been like, no, our commitment's steadfast. There's nothing to worry about here. But everything that's happened since then has been kind of worrying. Like we're a long way away from sort of the bullish way they entered. VW Group posted major losses recently, and in particular, it's the same thing is happening to a lot of manufacturers. Every Western automaker thought they were just going to dominate the Chinese market. And what has happened instead is that they haven't, and they're facing stiff domestic competition within China. So that hasn't really panned out. The other thing is, from the standpoint of new car sales, EVs have been a bit of a disaster. That they're expensive. The Chinese automakers have some advantages there because they have a better supply of raw materials and batteries. But the big thing is just the EVs are expensive, and people do not want like wildly expensive cars. Like you're telling me that Jetta costs $30,000 more than the other one? Fuck that. So everyone's kind of up against that. So VW, after a number of VW's had a long run of success. To a degree, this is also this kind of downturn you might expect to see after years of line go up. Eventually it plateaus and maybe declines. But it's caused a panic. They lost their latest financials were not good. I don't know what their actual losses were, but the punchline is they're talking about shutting down 3 factories in Germany, which is like the crown jewels. As I understand it, VW, they'll close everything else. They're not going to close a factory in Germany if they can avoid it. Partly because there's some state ownership in VW. Plus, there's a lot of German trade unions that are involved in this picture as well. So all hell's about to break loose for VW with their German workforce. Lots of strikes being threatened. Real ugly situation.
It's the people's wagon.
Exactly. why they
You
renamed
priced a
Alpine.
VW lately, Drew. Which people? So there's. I will say that the VW the EV like VW bus looks pretty cool. Though.
Yeah,
that was neat.
Wait, did they do an EV of the bus?
Yeah, dude, it just came
Check
out.
it.
Can you get a regular bus though? Still?
No, man. No, it's why you only bring back as an EV because you can't make the bus anymore because probably it's really unsafe with an internal combustion engine. Because you can't have cool things
I'll
unless
just
you're
wait
a
3 years.
light duty truck, in which case you can just like mash pedestrians all you want. But God forbid you have a cool front end if you're a car
Right,
or
it's
a
not stopping the
minivan.
Cybertruck. It's just that thing's designed to destroy toddlers. Like, come on, let's get the
Well,
bus.
yeah, I mean,
the
if
summer
it
of love.
doesn't, if it doesn't destroy its drivers first.
Yeah.
Point is, VW got in F1 when times are good. Times are not so good, and now there's a sense that they're diluting their stake. Their eyes are starting to water a little bit at some of the cost. And this is something I wanted to bring up because it was another angle of the piece I wrote for Remap about the Andretti Cadillac thing. A line of thought that was in my piece that we didn't get to on the show was the reason I didn't like dumping Andretti and like making it such a Cadillac forward thing is that a racing team is a racing team. That's their business. Times are good, they go racing. Times are bad, they kind of have to go racing. It's not like you can just pivot to let's cut costs and do whatever else we do, right? It wasn't really an option for Williams to be like, Williams Advanced Engineering is really our bread and butter. You couldn't really do that. And my concern has always been with this obsession with getting like works teams in and like, manufacturers in, especially these big ones that are like publicly held. Motorsport's the first thing against the wall when things go bad. And that has always been the shit that causes crises on the grid is once one major automaker says, we can't afford to stay in F1. Every other major automaker has to fight an internal case to explain why that spend is still good. And so I was a little concerned with this, like, we just want to get Andretti out of here and want to replace them with Cadillac. Now, it may still be largely the Andretti organization, just the name filed off. But the spirit of it was, we need automakers in here. And this Audi thing is starting to feel like a case study in, like, it is so double-edged when you have a major auto manufacturer engaging in Formula One or any auto sport. Because that priority can shift on a dime. And it's a big investment for a racing team. That's why they get a racing seat in F1. They're going to hold on to it for all it's worth. For an automaker as big as F1 is, it's still not that big a commitment. It's an easy thing to just like shit can. Toyota and Honda have done it many times.
And it's a lot of work. It's not just a line item. It's you can't bluff this stuff. Like, it takes a lot of buy-in, hiring the right people.
And you look incompetent for fully half the time you're involved with it. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, from one petrostate to another, Danny, let's talk Abu Dhabi.
Petrostate around the world. It's the final stop of the season, folks. We're back.
That's the future for F1. Petrostate around the world. Why can't we race in? Name any country with a good racetrack. Sorry, no. Sorry, they have Petrostate still? No.
We're going to Venezuela. Let's go. That's the thing. Like, we should mix it up. We're going to do the Petrostate thing. Then we have enough Middle Eastern races. There was a time where we didn't have any, and it was cool. And Abu Dhabi was the first one. Was the opening up of the Middle East to F1 back in 2009, and largely people like this circuit. I don't know if I guess they made it the sort of it was the sunset race. It was the race that starts in the end of the day and ends under the nights of the Emirates with the hotel gleaming in the background and stuff. But it did, I think it was Interlagos up until that point, and obviously we had Suzuka for a while before that. We've had some classic end of the season spots. I think Abu Dhabi, approaching its 15th year now, has given us a lot of memorable stuff. We'll get into it in a second, but I'm not necessarily. It's not a classic track.
There are things we'll remember about Abu Dhabi.
Exactly. Exactly. Some of which have actually happened, a lot of which happened at a turn that no longer exists. So we've had one change happen to this track back in 2021. Basically the end of Sector 2, start of Sector 3. There was a little couple of turns there, and they got rid of that for, essentially a big 180-degree turn. So there used to be some action down there, hard braking zone. But that's gone. We'll talk about some of those in a minute, though. 58 laps around this one, 5.28 kilometers, 3.28 miles. Most of the overtaking happens on the first DRS straight, which is the longest of the two straight. It's quite a long straight, one of the longest straights in F1. How long? I don't know. I didn't write that down in this document. There is a second DRS zone after that. It is my recollection that there is now less overtaking at turn 9 because they have they have made it that sort of big sweeping left-hander. But who knows? It used to be a tough braking zone uphill. It was slightly uphill, so it was easy to brake there. It's a weird spot. It's this artificial island. There are 7 hotels. There's one big crazy light up one. It looks like a Christmas tree in the middle of the track that they drive under. Ferrari has a theme park there called Ferrari World. There is a marina, which was not there before they built this track. There was nothing there. It's outside of Abu Dhabi. The grandstands are pretty cool. I've been there. It's a good track for getting good views. A lot of the grandstands there have views of multiple parts of the track, multiple sectors. So it's a good spot to go to. It's also quite warm this time of year, which I'm sure Drew will get into in a second. Past moments. 2009 was the first race. 2010 was an absolute classic. It was the year that the title fight came down to the last race of the season between 4 drivers. Weber, Alonso, Hamilton, and the eventual winner, and at that time, youngest Formula 1 champion, Sebastian Vettel. 2016, we had Rosberg winning his first and only championship in his final season as an F1 driver.
Drop the mic.
He dropped the mic. He came second in that race. Nuppy, we did it. He shouted over the radio to his wife. I forget what she called him. She called him, like, it wasn't Muppy. It was like Mappy or something. She was like, we did it, Mappy. And he was like, Nuppy, we did it. It's one of
Mappy.
the more bizarre. Although not that bizarre. If you watched any of his...
Arcade fan?
YouTube... yeah. If you watched any of his YouTube channel, that is kind of his vibe he puts out there, Nico Rosberg. 2019, Bottas had a great crash with Grosjean in practice at that turn I was talking about, the turn that no longer exists. Just forgot he was practice, and he tried to dive up the inside of Rosberg or of Grosjean when he was on a practice lap and not looking in his mirrors for anyone trying to overtake him, and just crunched into the side panel of him. That was the same turn that during the race, Perez overtook Lando Norris and said, that was the best overtake of my career. Wow. Which may still be the case. I'm not sure. And then also that year at the end of the race, that was when Sainz did a great overtake. Oh, I forget who it was on, but it was for a point he desperately needed in the Drivers' Championship. And it was did I send it? Did I send it? So some great lines have happened there. And then, of course, in 2021, who could forget? No, Michael, no. The most controversial ending to an F1 season ever, when Michael Massey essentially handed Verstappen the championship by employing a rather unconventional, we'll just let the back markers... Never seen a total reinterpretation of the rules for the sake of the race.
Racing, my friend. I don't see what your problem is.
We're just going to go racing. We're just going to go racing. In fairness, Verstappen did have to... He overtook at a point probably Lewis wasn't expecting, and then Hamilton kind of did a bad job trying to get back around him. He didn't have an opportunity. He was on old tires. He was on old tires, but I still think he could have gotten up the inside on that second DRS.
Oh my God! Please stop.
The tires are exits. You cannot. It was done the moment they swapped positions around. It was over. Also, it's Mucky, amazing job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Mucky and Nuppy. Beautiful. I want to get his and hers bat.
Nico Rosberg's Wife Got Content is the best stuff on that channel. He seems to have given up on the YouTube thing a little bit. Yeah. Like occasionally posts like, here's me doing rich guy shit. And it's like, Yeah, that's cool. I'm happy for your eco yacht. That's neat. But like, give me more of that stuff where it's like, I'm borrowing my neighbor in Monte Carlo's car for a day.
Yeah, remember that? That was a good one.
That's good shit.
Yeah, he's just like you and me. You know what I mean? Yeah, crazy races have happened here. I will be honest, since 2021, we haven't really had many fantastic races here. This is also where Nico Hülkenberg had his first retirement from Formula One upside down. Do you remember that?
Ah, yes. I'm hanging here like a cow.
That's what he said. I knew there was a good line. I'm hanging here like a cow.
There was that time Mick Schumacher was like, "Father, may I do a donut?" And Gunther was like, "No."
Yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah, everyone gets fined here for doing donuts at the end of the season. But Mick didn't want. At that stage, Mick had crashed about 15 cars, so I think he had to make sure. The bill was already pretty high.
God damn! How did Williams not scoop him up? James, get on it.
So yes, who knows? I doubt we're in for a classic this week. But actually, constructors and, as it turns out, second place in the drivers' championship might be up for grabs. So we'll have to
That'll
see.
keep it interesting.
It will.
As will the weather.
Oh, it's gonna rain in fucking Abu Dhabi.
It is 0% across the weekend. We're looking at 79 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 Celsius on qualifying and race day. Wind 9 miles an hour or 14 kilometers an hour, and roughly the same on race day and qualifying. So maybe, these tracks sometimes have some problems with dust and sand getting kicked onto the track, but looks to be race and weather in general. As we head into the final race of the season in reality and in fantasy, the Qatar Grand Prix. Here's the podium in our fantasy league, which you can join using the link in the show notes for the final race of the season. It is a 4-way tie for second between Yes Bye Bye, Team Lovely, Kick Sauber Hardly Know Her, and Spice Girls. But the winner from the Qatar Grand Prix is Valdekner 2.
What? Why am I not getting Spice Girls?
I don't know. Maybe it's a Christian Horner thing.
Christian Horner thing?
But overall, the standings look like this. In third place, we have Red Bull Racing. In second place, Alpino Noir. And in first place, Mad Max Mad. Only a 37-point difference between first and second. So it's anybody's game.
Wow.
You can send us an email at shiftf1podcast@gmail.com or f1.cool/emails. You can also hit us up on the socials using the link in the show notes. That's us around the internet. Should we take it around the world, Danny?
Let's race around the world. Yeah.
Well, in our final race weekend, we have joining Formula One, the Formula One Academy in Yas Marina, as well as Formula 2 in Yas Marina, and another racing series. Didn't you know? Winter racing series include Formula E. I think are they kicking this season off? This is in Sao Paulo.
Must be. They can't park those batteries in the winter. They got to put them on those drip chargers. So they're just like, we might as well.
Shorter.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's going on this weekend, including Formula One. Maybe you heard of it. Friday, December 6th, things kick it off. This is not a sprint weekend. Don't worry. Free Practice 1 is at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2, followed by Free Practice 2 at 8 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Saturday, December 7th, Free Practice 3 is at 5:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN News, followed by Qualifying 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And Sunday, everyone, December 8th, final race of the season, 8 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. The Deuce. Have any of you watched the ESPN Kids, F1 Kids broadcast on ESPN?
I think I did for one of the
one of the
races this year. I did. Yeah.
It ripped. All right. Well, it is back on ESPNU.
Yeah, you got to watch it because it's
done it a
different
few
age
times
groups. It's little kids who watch so much motor racing.
Yeah,
they've internalized how announcers sound.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
and they're trying to put their own spins on it. And they're like, but they're very knowledgeable, and some of them are surprisingly good. And some want to be like play-by-play guys, and some want to be like color commentators.
I hate it.
It's the best shit.
It's it's like the F1 equivalent of like Dance Moms Kids. You know what I mean?
Oh boy.
They're just like, it's God
Well,
bless them.
If you want to check that out, ESPNU is for you.
I thought it was cute, but I guess fuck those kids, Danny.
So says
Hey, little
Danny Dwight.
Brundle, I got some here for you too.
There's too many kid Brundles. We don't need any more children Brundles. We still haven't gotten the next generation of Brundles in that seat.
Well, that's what's happening this weekend. Danny, what happened this day in history?
December 4th, he may have been outclassed by his McLaren teammate Lewis Hamilton, but today in 2004, Heikki Kovalainen showed he was no pushover when he won the Race of Champions in Paris, beating David Coulthard, Sebastian Loeb, and even Michael Schumacher to take victory. At the time, Heikki was the Nissan World Series champion and a test driver for Renault. Remember that F1 team? Not used to losing, Schumacher had his excuses ready afterwards. He said, "It's a fun event. I was less interested in being perfectly prepared for this because I see it as less serious." Perhaps hoping for some help from above, Schumacher presented the Pope with a steering wheel from one of his title-winning F2004 Ferrari cars today in 2005. The wheel bore the inscription, "The Formula One World Champions Steering Wheel to His Holiness Benedict the..." I'm going to say that's 50... No, what's X?
No.
What's X? Is 20? Is X?
X is 10.
X
but
is
if
10.
XIX
Okay, so
is
it's
the
16th.
19th. XIV would be 14.
VI, 16.
All right.
16.
XVI, 16th. Right? I got thrown.
Yep.
Christianity's driver.
What?
Which isn't even accurate.
Wait.
He might be Catholicism's driver.
I'm sorry. Is that was in the inscription?
Yeah, it was the Formula One. It's a long inscription.
Okay.
The Formula One World Champions Steering Wheel to His Holiness Benedict XVI, Christianity's driver.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. I don't know that that's accurate.
I think the Greek
Look, Schumi's
Orthodox.
just trying to make up for Germany's role in the Reformation. Hey, we did you dirty.
We take it back. Martin Luther. We're doing backsies. Backsies. Sorry, we didn't mean it.
You guys were the real commendators, commendators of Christianity.
Wow. Yeah.
This podcast went places I didn't.
I don't take inscriptions very seriously. I was.
Wow. All right. Well, final thoughts as we head into the last race of the season, Danny.
I'm glad we're all still getting along, even if the drivers are not so much.
The podcasts are maybe varying in quality as we get to the end here.
Maybe the frogs are only getting louder here. Same thing I say every year. I'll be somewhat relieved when the season is over, but also I'll miss F1. We've got a couple of podcasts. We will do the post Abu Dhabi, but then we'll also have our little sort of after end of the season recap or just get together thing, which will be nice. But hopefully
and two Patreon episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's going to be fun watching McLaren and Ferrari go toe to toe this weekend.
Yeah. Rob, final thoughts.
I mean, I can't wait to see who else is going to be at each other's throats this weekend. I'm just curious, like, will they manage to put a nice face on for the end of the season, or is it just going to continue like melting down? Right? Like, basically, we're going to get the end to a National Lampoon's movie, or are we basically just going to be stuck in the moment where Chevy Chase loses his shit at everyone, and everyone's like, "This is the worst thing we've ever done." In this case, a 22-23 race season.
Where's the Tylenol? If you would like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the ad-free version of the podcast, and the official Shift F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/ShiftF1. Have a good race weekend, everyone. We will see you all next week.